You ever chase someone so hard you forgot who you were? Ever stare at your phone, analyzing every period, every emoji, waiting for a reply that never comes? You feel that cold distance, that emptiness, like they've slipped through your fingers and you're just stuck. Let me tell you something. The moment you stop trying to get their attention is the moment you start commanding it. The truth is, the key to making an avoidant miss you isn't about chasing harder. It's about flipping the script, and today I'm going to show you exactly how. First, it starts with reclaiming your emotional center. Most people, when dealing with someone avoidant, lose themselves in the anxiety of disconnection. They overtext, they overthink, they become hypervigilant, watching for signs of closeness like a starving person looking for crumbs. But here's the truth. When you make your emotional world dependent on someone who fears intimacy, you hand them your power on a silver platter. Instead, you must become emotionally self-sufficient. That doesn't mean shutting down or pretending you don't care. It means learning to regulate your own nervous system, learning how to feel safe within yourself, and becoming the source of your own peace. The avoidant isn't drawn to someone who clings. They're drawn to someone who doesn't need, but chooses. When you're grounded, when you're not fazed by their retreat, they start to wonder, why aren't you chasing? And in that gap, the seed of curiosity and longing is planted. Second, focus on identity reinvention. Who are you when you're not trying to win their love? When was the last time you invested in yourself with the same intensity you gave to trying to fix them? Avoidants pull away from people who orbit around them, but they become magnetized to those who evolve beyond them. This is the time to get obsessed with your mission. Take the class, build the brand. Hit the gym not for revenge, but for rebirth. Post not to provoke, but to inspire. You want to make them miss you. Become unforgettable. Let them see your growth from a distance and wonder how they ever felt okay walking away from that. When you change your frequency, you change who's allowed in your field, and suddenly the avoidant realizes they didn't just lose your attention. They lost access to a rising force. Third, give space with intentional silence. Silence is not about playing games. It's about creating tension, healthy tension, the kind that forces someone to sit with their own emotional walls and notice the absence of what they once took for granted. But this silence only works if it's clean, not bitter, not passive-aggressive. You don't disappear to punish. You step back to preserve your power. This creates room for the avoidant to actually feel. Because avoidants aren't heartless, they're defended. They need space to notice the void. When you pull back with elegance and grace, instead of chasing or demanding, you give their nervous system a chance to process the loss. And guess what? That's when the missing begins. That's when they start to reach out. Not because you forced it, but because your absence became louder than your presence ever could. Fourth, embody hive, value energy. Not just in words, but in action, posture, decisions. High value isn't arrogance, it's alignment. It's knowing your worth so deeply that you refuse to settle for crumbs, even if your heart aches. It's when you're willing to walk away from anything that costs you your peace. You see, avoidants test boundaries, not to hurt you, but because they subconsciously want to feel the edge of your self-respect. And when you hold that line with love and clarity, it shocks their system. Most people bend, most people beg, but you bless and release. And that energy, that's addictive. That's what lingers. That's what keeps them up at night, scrolling through your photos, replaying your last words, haunted by the strength they didn't expect to admire. You don't make an avoidant miss you by forcing connection. You make them miss you by becoming the person they didn't have the capacity to hold, but suddenly can't forget. The game changes when you remember your power. And today, right now, is where that transformation begins. The journey to making an avoidant miss you is not about manipulation or desperate pleading. It's about mastery over yourself. When you reclaim your emotional center, you stop being a hostage to their unpredictable distance. You become the calm in the storm, the unshakable force that doesn't bend to fear or neediness. This shift changes the entire dynamic. Instead of chasing a ghost, you become the solid presence they subconsciously crave. Your power lies not in clinging, but in your ability to stand tall and grounded, regardless of their actions. And in that strength, you create a magnetic pull stronger than any chase could ever produce. Reinventing your identity isn't just a strategy, it's a declaration of your worth. By focusing on your growth, your passions, and your purpose, you break free from the trap of trying to fix what isn't yours to fix. You step into a version of yourself so vibrant, so alive, that they can't help but take notice, even from afar. This transformation sends a powerful message. You are not waiting for someone else's approval to thrive. And that message resonates deeply with avoidants, who fear losing themselves in others. When you rise into your highest self, you're not just making them miss you. You're inspiring them to question what they're missing out on. Intentional silence, done with grace and clarity, becomes one of your greatest tools. It's not a weapon, but a space, an open invitation for reflection, for feeling, and for growth on both sides. This kind of silence breaks down walls without breaking hearts. It gives the avoidant room to face their fears and recognize the value of what they let slip away. But it requires courage and patience on your part, because it means resisting the urge to fill the void with noise or anxiety. By choosing silence thoughtfully, you create the conditions for a deeper connection to emerge, one based on mutual respect and emotional maturity rather than need. Finally, embodying Hive. Your energy is the ultimate game changer. It's about standing in your worth with unshakable confidence and loving yourself fiercely enough to never settle for less. This energy is contagious. It draws others in without effort, and it challenges avoidance to meet you where you are or risk losing you forever. When you honor yourself with boundaries, clarity, and grace, you send a powerful signal that you are someone to be respected and treasured. This isn't about pushing them away, it's about inviting them to show up fully or step aside. And in that invitation, you reclaim your power and open the door to the kind of connection that isn't just temporary, but transformational. Thank you so much for trusting me with your request. If you need anything else or want to dive deeper, just let me know. Wishing you all the best with your speech. Go make that impact. Goodbye for now and take care.